Welcome into Camp Randall Stadium, the football offices at uwbadgers.com for Signing Day Live. My name is Phil Dawson, and we're going to take you through the entire Wisconsin recruiting class on the 2014 Letter of Intent National Signing Day. So welcome in. We got plenty of good stuff for you today, including starting with Wisconsin head coach Gary Andersen, who's set to join me right now as we discuss this 2014 class. So, Gary, I suppose we start with just how big of a day this is for, the entire landscape of college football and how it specifically relates to this year's club and the 2014 class, featuring, all the positions of need that you had to hit. Why don't you kind of just take us through what this year and this class of recruiting was all about?
Well, first of all, this becomes a bigger day every year now through the media and for the kids. And the biggest thing I would say about Wisconsin and the way that our coaches have handled this, there's a lot that goes into a recruiting class. And it's a full year process for us. And we started on this class the first day we got here, went through the whole cycle. There's so many athletic support people that are involved in the visits and the unofficial visits and the real visits. So just thank you to everybody that was involved, first of all. It's a huge class. With the walk-on kids, it's 30 new kids in the program. 25 basically scholarship kids that we're going to be looking at right now as we go through this, and maybe a couple more as we go through the day. So, we had a lot of needs, and when you have a class that's that big, there is a lot of needs. If we break it down and say offensive line, we're looking to get that class filled back up to close to 16 players, and we're getting close to that number. It's hard to fix that in 1 year, but we've gotten closer. I feel good about those commits. We wanted to really help ourselves in the skill positions, and when I say that, the defensive backfield as a whole, there could be as many as 6 young men there. We got 3 running backs, 4 or 5 wide receivers as we go through here to be able to up our athleticism was important. We want to be able to, have a kid make an extraordinary play to, maybe go 90 yards, 80 yards, or whatever's left. Football becomes easier when you have playmakers, that's for sure, and you don't have to go 12 plays and grind it out and, be perfect in a drive to score. And on the flip side, on defense, turnovers, I believe, are created with athletes that make big-time plays, and hopefully we can get some scores on the board through those kids as we move forward. But it's a good, solid class. It balances us out from the freshman class all the way through the senior class better. We're still not perfect in that area, but proud of the way that the coaches handled it. Our kids in the program did a tremendous job. When we ask young men to come on a recruiting visit, we ask them to really find out who we are. As coaches, we go into living rooms, we sit in our offices, and we tell them what the program's all about. But the kids in the program really give you the heartbeat and the true belief of what the program is. And I think our kids did a tremendous job of communicating with the recruits.
We will jump into some of the players and this class and what they feature. And you mentioned a lot of the skill position and offensive linemen. But take me through kind of the philosophy of recruiting and the process of that, because I think it's something that maybe a lot of people out there don't know just how involved it is and how much work it goes into. I mean, it's an everyday process, is it not? It
is. It's an everyday process, and if you just take it back and in very simple and quick terms, you identify the young man obviously through his athletic ability, number one. Once he goes through there, you've got to see if he fits you socially and if he fits us academically. That takes time. We get that information through the high schools, through his mentors, tutors, coaches, family, parents as we go through the process, and then get to understand him better. And then you look at young men and see where do they fit. Wisconsin is a very unique fit in a lot of different ways, and just to say that you get into become a qualifier through the eligibility center doesn't necessarily mean that you can have the opportunity to play at Wisconsin. And we give kids plans that academically have had some challenges or been mistakes, or maybe not have made a mistake down the road and they're not where they need to be to get to Wisconsin. We give them a plan. We go through the process, and sometimes that fight goes on all the way until 4 or 5 days up until the signing day, and then we have to make a decision. And we always try to make a decision that's truly best for the young man. And we've had to take a step back on a few kids and give them an opportunity to possibly get to another school because they just aren't going to be able to get into Wisconsin. And you get relationships with kids when you recruit them. And I want to walk away knowing that I've given them the best opportunity to succeed in life, whether it's at Wisconsin or another school. And then we pick our best guys. And at the end, you got to say no to some good football players because we're at a great place. And I've said it all along since I've been here. Wisconsin is not a school you got to go out and sell the product. You just have to bring young men in here and show them what we are, who we're about, what people are going to be influencing their lives. But it is a long, drawn-out process, but it's an exciting process, and it's very competitive with us coaches. We love that part of it.
Now, also, you go into all these kids' homes, you build those relationships, you build the trust with them, and then they make their decision. Some of the kids in this class, what got them to say, yep, Wisconsin's where I want to be?
Well, first of all, when you walk in here, you see the facilities. It's as good as there is in the country. And the way they move through their day, they deserve to be treated like the best of the best. And they do have the best of the best. And I would say that not just about football, about all the student athletes at Wisconsin. So that's an A+ right out of the gate. It's as good as it gets anywhere in the country. They're not going to walk around here and say, well, I get this at this place and that. They get the best of the best here. You get to play in the best conference in the country. You get to play in front of usually 85,000, 90,000 people every single week. You get to play on national television every single game. You're going to be on national television. People aren't having to get on the internet and pay $5 to watch you play a game. They're going to be able to watch you play. So again, A+ in that area for us. So we're right there. It's still recruiting is so involved in the internet, and there's so many pieces to it now with the Twitter and social media and everything that goes. But at the end, recruiting is relationships, and that's why I cherish those moments when I truly get to get into their homes and be with their families, meet their coaches, walk through the high school hallways, and see what people say about these kids. And it's a crazy time those last 2 or 3 weeks, and on the road for 18 and 19 days. But I just value those opportunities to get in the kids' home and look at the mom and dad in the eyes and tell them, or mentors, families, whoever it may be, that we are going to take care of them. And that's, I think, where we gain the edge at the end, is our relationships that we work to build with the young men and their families.
And then plus the rest of the A+s that are going around here. All right, let's jump into this class here. You mentioned from the outset 2 of the things. We know that the backbone of Wisconsin for the past 20 years has been the offensive line. You get 6 offensive linemen in this class out of the 23 we have in right now, and still waiting potentially to get some more in. But tell me about these offensive linemen. 6 of them. What are they like? What are you looking for when you're recruiting these offensive linemen?
Well, first of all, it's to get the numbers. We came in state. I think we did a tremendous job with those kids, and we want them to be big physical kids and be able to represent the offensive line at Wisconsin. We want to be able to run the football, and they got to have the athleticism. They don't all have the build to go out in there and play today, but they do have the toughness. They have the mindset. They have the leadership ability to get out on the field. A lot of them have, ever since they had binkies in their mouths at 8 months old, they wanted to put that Motion W on their head one day on their helmet, and they've got that opportunity. So we built from within the state with those offensive linemen, but we reached all the way to Hawaii this year with Mike to get him here. So the offensive line crew is a good, solid crew. I think they'll bond together, and when you have an offensive line with that many numbers, as young as we are, we're 7 or 8 now, counting the kids in the program with freshmen or redshirt freshmen. They're going to be a powerful force, and they'll be together for many years. So great group of kids, exactly what Wisconsin is on the offensive line. Tough-minded, good kids.
And I think we have 2 legacy players, or I don't know what you call them in your program, but George Panos and Bo Benchwall, 2 guys who have relationships built back to the UW. Can you tell me about how building a relationship with them went?
Well, it was great to listen to the Pops, and sit back and let them tell you how great of players they were. And they were both tremendous players. But it's important. It was a great opportunity for a family to say, hey, or a dad to say, that's where I played, and now to have a son go there and do the same thing and play in the same field that you played on, that's a special experience. But those were slam dunks at the beginning. Those relationships were built long ago, and those families take tremendous pride in having their son walking into the program at the University of Wisconsin, and I'm just very, very glad that they trusted us with their young men.
And then right in our backyard here from Camp Randall, Jaden Galt, who had tremendous success as a high school performer, and even here, Monona Grove in an incredible state championship game. Tell me a little bit about Jaden, when that relationship, because he was a kid who the prior regime was in on, obviously, because he was so good, and then you had to restart up a relationship with him.
Yep, we did a lot of that last year, and Jaden was right in the middle of that as far as he's a highly rated offensive lineman, and he's handled the situation very well. And he did get recruited, and he went through the process. And I respect young men for going through that process. I think it's important to be able to compare and look at a couple different programs. But, Jaden, he's an early enrollee. He's here. He's going through that transition, and that is a very difficult transition to walk away from high school and miss the last, half of your senior year. But he's a big, strong, physical young man. He's looking to get on the field early, just like all those kids are. But the challenge for the offensive lineman is to understand is there is a patience that comes with that. You have to be ready to get on the field mentally. You have to be ready to get on the field physically, which is really no different than other positions. But in this conference, in this offense, you've got to be a big, physical, strong young man to be able to do it. And Jaden fits that bill perfectly. I'm proud of the way he's handled himself since he's been here too.
Yeah, and just like the offensive linemen, they go hand in hand, the running backs. Got 3 running backs in this class, and I'm told over 10,000 yards combined in their careers. So that's hitting the marks for you.
It is. They're different, but they're the same because they're all tremendous running backs. And I think that if you break each one of those down and just say who are they and what they're going to do, they bring a lot. They bring a lot to the table, and they're physical. They're tough-minded young men. They're very smart. They know they're walking into a position group that's very deep here now.
Right.
We got some. Last time I looked, we have some pretty good running backs on this team right now, and they're excited to be part of that group and continue the legacy whenever the opportunity knocks for them. But they'll come in here and expect to compete at a high level. And all 3 very, very good kids, have high expectations of themselves, and the productivity, 10,000 yards in high school for 3 kids, that's amazing.
Tell me a little bit about stylistically, because you look at the size of a kid like a Taiwan Deal, 6'1", 225 out of Capitol Heights, Maryland. Then you have, where is he? Caleb Kinlaw, correct? 5'9", 190 out of South Carolina. So you have 2, are they different styles of running backs? Is it kind of the what you see here from a Taiwan Deal, big, physical, but still fast, and then maybe more in the James White mold with the other running backs, with Caleb?
Caleb is, he's more of a scat back, I would say, but he does run with some power. He runs underneath his pads very, very well, but he's a game breaker. He can go out, and his ability to make big-time plays at big-time moments is there at any moment. He can go the distance anytime he gets the ball in his hands. And if you look at Taiwan's a big, physical, powerful runner. He's very good at pass protection in high school, and he's ready to take that load on right now. His physical development is right there, much like Corey was when Corey walked in here a year ago, I would say. And then you put Ula in the mix, and Ula is a big, strong, powerful back also, 2,500 yards last year, whatever he had. It's an amazing stat. And so, again, as a whole, they're a great group of running backs, excited about the opportunity to get them out there. But, again, as much as they're different, they're still the same. Tremendous young men and great players.
All right. Also, 4 wide receivers as of right now, and these are kids that I would imagine, that will have an opportunity to showcase what they can do, because you have a couple of wide receivers coming back, definitely losing a big one in a Jared Abradaris. So what is the expectation for these kids coming in? Because they're game breakers too. I think total on this, 8 players have returned kicks for touchdowns. I mean, that's game breaking. That's what you're looking for.
It is. And, we wanted to go out and create competition at the wide receiver spot. And the young men in our program right now are working very hard. And we know we've lost a tremendous wide receiver who had the majority of the catches. So between the new wide receivers that we just signed and the young men in the program, we have to become more adapt to be able to get to the ball at all 3 levels in the throw. When I say that, I mean the deep, the middle, and the short throws. And we also need to be able to play on both sides of the field and not get ganged up on like we were last year. So these kids are going to walk in here. They're all, again, tough-minded. Expectations for them is they want to play as freshmen. And that's exactly where you want these kids to be, because the opportunity will present itself for all of them when they walk in here. Again, they're a little unique. Some have different skill sets than the others, but they all have the ability to catch contested balls. They all were a big part of their high school football program. They all had the ability to have great leadership skills, and they had a lot of decisions to make, and they picked Wisconsin. And, they get beat up pretty good in recruiting. Oh, why are you going to Wisconsin? They never throw the ball, this and that. Well, they understand the belief. They understand where we want to go on the offensive side of the ball, and they look at it as an opportunity to come in and help the offense change to become more versatile.
Should also point out, too, that I think all 4 of them are 6 foot or taller, so some good size on these guys, too.
There is, and again, they can be physical, which is going to give them the opportunity to block, which all great wide receivers do, but they have the ability in the red zone or down the field on 3rd downs to catch those balls that are on the sticks, to keep the chains moving, make the big play in the end zone to get up and over the top of people. And those a lot of offers, a lot of stiff competition with those kids, and I think they hung in there with us consistently throughout the whole recruiting process. And I respect them for that and their families for allowing us to again give us the opportunity to take care of them.
We'll touch on a couple more positions here with Coach Andersen. We're going to talk to the rest of the coaching staff as well, but also wanted to hit on the defensive backs area. It's certainly an area of need, and certainly one where opportunity, again, is going to be available. And I think when I had a chance to talk with Bill Bush, the safeties coach here, and one of your incoming freshmen, Austin Hudson, is a kid who, standing at 6'2", he said he likes the long levers, and certainly it looks that way. Once again, when you bring him in, and then some other of those game breaker kids who can make real good breaks on balls, that's what you're kind of looking for the secondary. And again, watch a guy like Sojourn Shelton get an opportunity like that. That has to put the light bulb on in these kids' heads as well, saying, I can get in there.
I think last year, if we just talk about a lot of those freshmen that came in with Sojourn and Leon and the list goes on, kids in our recruiting class understand that they will have an opportunity to play. And it's not an earned right to get yourself on the field. If you're the best player, you earn that right. It's not because you've been in the program for 2 or 3 years. The defensive backfield is, they're gifted young men, again, highly competitive, which you've got to have in the backfield on the defensive side of the football. And we really recruited some skill there. Austin walked in here. He's in here at mid-year. He's done a great job, but he's a true safety.
Yeah.
Some of those other kids are going to be a fit to where they go. Derek, Dakota, where they're going to fit. Luburn, where's he's going to fit. I know this. They're tremendous athletes. They run very well. Again, highly competitive, and for the most part, they have very good ball skills. A lot of them did some very productive things on the offensive side of the football, also in high school. So we expect them to come in and compete, to play as freshmen.
And also on the defensive side of the ball, a couple of big Wisconsin kids, including Billy Hirschfeld, Connor Sheehy. These two kids are very highly recruited as well. But again, I think they put the binky in their mouth, and they're Wisconsin kids.
Yeah, Billy and Connor are exactly what you want. You just look in their eyes, and they want to play early. They can physically. Again, they're going to walk in here and have an opportunity, depending on how they prepare themselves until we get into summer conditioning. But they're going to have that opportunity. But their overall athleticism is going to give them an opportunity to compete right away. Their love for the game, and again, the opportunity to walk into this stadium and play where it's been a dream of theirs for so many years is unlike really nothing else that I believe that they'll go through in their college career. So they'll have an opportunity to play early, and they'll want to. But the guys that are here don't want them to. So it's going to be a good fight there.
And certainly as specialists, don't want to leave Rafael Gaglione. I believe I got that right. Gaglione.
Yeah, I hope you got that right. I still got a D-line coach's name I've been with for 10 years, and it's hard for me to be able. That's why I say Coach Chad. So, no, you see the highlights. And specialists, if you talk about being great on special teams, it's part of our plan to win. If you don't have a kicker that allows you to be great on special teams, then you're going to struggle. And it's important for us to recruit a kicker. Now, we talk about recruiting all the time. We'll see how he handles it when he gets in here. But he's a highly competitive soccer player, which I love. It means he's not just a kicker. He goes out and he competes. He wins. He loses. He's scored goals to win the game. He's lost some critical soccer games, and he's been very productive in kicking and football, and he's gotten better and better. I think the one on the tape is a 57-yarder. He drills through there.
You can
see the ball snap off his foot pretty good. So yeah, you want to be great, you got to be able to recruit the specialists, and that's what we've done.
And he doesn't look like a prototypical kicker too.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, he's I don't know. He might be eating a little bit too well, but we'll see once he gets there. He's got some power behind that leg, and he's working like crazy to be a great one.
All right, Coach Andersen, last thought for you. Here on Signing Day Live, Badger head coach Gary Andersen, Phil Dawson with you. The last question I have is in regards to the areas that you have to hit for recruiting, because you said it's a national program, and we saw some things for the first time really in a while for this program, getting into areas like a Georgia, which I know has a lot of talent down there and something that you wanted to do. The relationships you have back to Utah, out to the West Coast. It hasn't been pipelines for Wisconsin, but I suppose it just goes back to the relationships that you guys have from other places and building on those just to continue just at another place. Yeah,
and you say it exactly right. You're still, again, relationships are important. So if we get a tip on a kid that we think that somebody that we know believes can play, we're going to go recruit them. And I know firsthand from my time on the airplane in the last 3 weeks that we are recruiting nationally. Trust me. I mean, we went all over the place, and it's good for us to get into those spots. And we have the ability to be able to get wherever we need. This year into Georgia. Now Georgia is going to become a major area for us. We are going to put a coach in Georgia and allow him to be able to recruit there full time. South Carolina is kind of a satellite place for us to be able to recruit, but we're still going to go in there and recruit. Florida obviously is a major spot. The West Coast is the West Coast. We're going to go in and we're going to pick our spots. We can't recruit every school on the West Coast, not even close, but we will look at young men that want to be here and have those relationships. So our coaches do a tremendous job of identifying people early, understanding where they're at, what the situations are they a fit for Wisconsin, and then we continue to move forward, because you're not going to walk in any school in the country with the motion W on your chest and not going to look at you and say, now, where are you from?
Right.
That doesn't happen. Everybody knows Wisconsin, and in turn, that gives us an opportunity to get in those recruiting battles.
And then, of course, just put the fence up around the state, keep the best kids right here.
Yep, and that's always the number one key. That's where we start, and we've started on recruiting for next year already, and looking at the best kids that fit our numbers in state is always number one, and continuing that walk-on program. it matters to us. The 5 walk-on kids that joined this program in January, they're good football players. We were able to put 2 more kids on scholarship in January from walk-on kids, and we're looking to do 3 or 4 in the next year. So, like you say, you want to put that barrier up around our world, which is right here in Wisconsin. It's tremendous football, great high school coaches, and we want to keep the top kids in Wisconsin.
So is today like a weight off the shoulder kind of day? We got some of those letters of intent in. Let's get to work for next year.
It is. We had a great workout this morning. We got the kids out there. They ran around for an hour, and we haven't been with them much since the bowl game. And so this is the second time that the coaches have really been with them since they've been back in school. But it's a great day because you kind of get it all finalized. You know what you got, and there's so much work that goes into this. And those coaches have just, they battled like crazy and highly, highly contested recruiting year. The most I've been around as far as just going back and forth and the bantering of recruiting. And, we choose to take the high road as a staff. I really believe that. That doesn't always happen out there, but we try to be a first-class crew and, again, show Wisconsin, not sell it. But it's a day that you can take a big, deep breath and again, be grateful to the kids and the families, the coaches, all the mentors for allowing us to take care of the young men, and they trust us enough to put us in a position to allow them to coach them.
Well, I know we all look forward to seeing how these kids perform the next coming years. Coach Andersen, congratulations on a big day for the university. Thanks for joining us on Signing Day Live.
Appreciate it. Okay.
That's head coach Gary Andersen. We're going to hear from offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig when we return here to Signing Day Live.
Okay. All right. Guess I'll go shower and change, put on my clown suit.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay,
I'll be
thanks,
talking
guys.
to you in a little bit, too, doing our other stuff. So.
All right.
Appreciate it. Coach Ludwig, how are you? Phil Dawson, filling in today. How are you? I think we got a mic for you just to your left. You can slide up and under and clip her on. Good day all around?
Yeah. So the one receiver's not in, right? Jones?
Yes.
Jones, and then the Hawaii O-lineman.
Right. So I think mostly we'll hit on, I'm probably just going to be talking about the offensive line priority. Certainly DJ, those running backs, how maybe they kind of differentiate themselves, or how you determine that. And then the wide receivers that'll compete. So we'll just kind of touch on those.
Yep.
Don't go too in depth on anything. All set. From the football offices here at Camp Randall Stadium, this is Signing Day Live on UWBadgers.com. I'm Phil Dawson, joined by Badger offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig, as it's National Letter of Intent, National Signing Day, and we're joined by the offensive coordinator, who obviously you have a lot of great gets in this class. And we were just talking with Coach Andersen about, kind of the backbone of the program. It's the offensive line. And the kids that you get in, 6 right now, all kind of big, got a lot of big recruits. A lot of kids who are going to, potentially be long-term fits right here at the UW. So tell me a little bit about the process of getting those kids in and what you see and like from these offensive linemen.
Well, as you know, the process with some of the individuals has been going on for 2 years, so we're very excited about the class. Each of the individuals brings a little bit something different to the table. We're anxious to get them here. Some we have on campus already. Feel great about that. But it's a big physical group, and that's what we're looking for. We need to establish more depth in the offensive line, and we're looking for a couple of these young men to make an immediate impact in that area, this fall.
Right. And when we look at offensive linemen on film from the high school perspective, we see just how big and how dominating these kids can be. So when you're looking either at a Jaden Galt or a George Panos, kids who are good players, how do you kind of differentiate among them and say, okay, yeah, he's big and strong, but he's also has such a size advantage? over some of the kids that they're playing. So
Yeah.
how do you determine some of that
Well,
stuff?
a lot of that will be done when they get here on campus,
Yeah.
and you have a chance to work with them firsthand and really truly assess their skill set and how they'll best be implemented in our scheme. And again, we're anxious to get them here and get working.
Now, do you see them participating? Are these guys that could fill in right away, or is that still a yet to be determined thing, or do they have some abilities that you already like?
Well, the two young men in the program, they're second teamers right from day one, so they're going to get a lot of reps this spring. That's a huge advantage for us. That's a huge advantage for them. The young guys coming in, they'll be here in June, and they need to do a great job through the course of the summer working with their teammates, developing strength, learning the scheme, so when they report in August, they're not learning things. They're just getting a chance to be taught firsthand by the coaches.
Yeah. Now, in terms of quarterback DJ Gillens, I know he's got a lot of fans excited because here's this dual threat quarterback from Florida. Obviously, one of the top recruits in the country when you're talking about QB, 6'3", 185 pounds. Here he is from Jacksonville. And on tape, you can see again here just tons of talent that you can obviously pull from the film. What was the relationship building like with him, and how did this turn into him being a Badger?
Well, I had the chance to go down and see DJ practice in the spring and worked on developing a relationship with he and his family and a couple other coaches involved in that process. He's a tremendous young man, has come in. He was a high school senior one day and a college freshman the next, and is doing a nice job in that transition. Got great reports from the weight room and his teammates, his work ethic and the way he's approaching his responsibilities. And again, I'm real anxious to work with him firsthand. Haven't had that chance yet, but that's coming March 7th.
When you do see the skill set on film or build the relationship with him, what does he say he wants to work on, or how does the communication develop between you two when you're talking about him being a player at this level?
First thing he knows and he understands, he needs to develop himself more as a drop back passer. Obviously on the film you can see him run and make plays, but he's real raw in terms of his mechanics and throwing the football and his footwork in the drop back pass game. So that's something that he started working on already, but that's where his upside is tremendous.
How can a guy like that who has the dual threat ability help an offense, help you design what you want to do, and put pressure on some defenses, keep them on their heels?
Well, the big thing with the quarterback with that type of skill set is you don't have to have the perfect play. He can manufacture things with his feet. You know, I think he's an intelligent man. He can beat you with his brain. We're going to teach him how to beat defenses with his arm, but he can use his feet to get out of trouble. If the call's not perfect, sometimes they're not, he can make it go.
Talking with Andy Ludwig, Wisconsin offensive coordinator, and obviously he's going to have some new faces to throw to or at least work with here. Tell me about the wide receiving core. I took a look just running them down. Everybody 6 foot or over. Size you're looking for? Was that something that you have to get?
No, that just is by chance. We were recruiting the best possible players we could, and they were all good size, but they all can run. They all have ball skills, and again, each guy's a little bit different. We'll bring a little bit something different to the table, and the fun part is just plugging those pieces into the puzzle. What do they do well? Well, let's highlight that and put them in a position to do that, and it's a good group. It's a good group.
Now, and also, again, going back to the size, too, how do you determine, these are, again, big kids, big athletes making big plays when they're in high school, but they're going to have to block here. They're going to have to get more physical here. How does that get implemented into their game?
Well, if they want to play, they'll do that. So they're going to do it. Coach Beatty will get them right, and I don't see that being any issue. And, again, we're looking for contributors, solid contributors right from the get-go. So the opportunity on these young men coming in June and learning the system and being around their teammates and playing catch with the quarterbacks has got to be huge for them. So when we hit the field in August, we hit the ground running.
Now, Crenwick Sanders, a kid from Georgia, a chance to get into the Georgia recruiting zone or area. Tell me about the relationship built with him and how important getting somebody out of Georgia for long-term effects has on what Wisconsin can be and can do.
Coach Hammock did a great job establishing that relationship. He was the lead recruiter. Coach Beatty played a real strong hand in that recruitment as well, so they did a great job digging into that area, and we looked to develop a pipeline. It's a quick, easy flight here from Madison right to Atlanta, a direct flight.
He's 6'2", 190 pounds. That's Crenwick Sanders right there, taking a look at him. And again, one of 4 wide receivers already in on National Letter of Intent, National Signing Day. And since I got you here, we're going to be coming up on spring football soon. What do you anticipate with seeing some of the younger players, from a class a year ago, or even getting to that quarterback position again? How competitive will that be with a Joel Stavy, a Bart Houston? How will those guys compete? And, is there a favorite going in?
Well, Joel is the returning starter, but that every job is open. It's going to be a very competitive spring. Tanner McAvoy is going to be with us back at quarterback in the spring. So really you're looking at 4 scholarship quarterbacks working through. It's hard to get them all equal reps, but they need to create some separation right away to get more reps. They got to earn them, and I anticipate a very competitive spring.
And talking about those quarterbacks, what can maybe the younger or a Tanner or a Bart do to jump out to you? What do you value when you see that working in spring or spring practices that goes, okay, he's starting to get it?
Well, they got mastery of the offense, moving the offensive unit, and then again, like we talked about with DJ, having the ability to extend a play if it's not a perfect call or if things aren't shaping up just the way you anticipated, being able to make a play on the move and keep the chains moving.
Well, Andy, you seem pretty excited about the class coming in, getting set for spring football.
Yeah.
A little weight off the shoulders as well. Thank you for joining us here on Signing Day Live.
Appreciate it.
That's Andy Ludwig, Badger Offensive Coordinator. We'll have more from Camp Randall, and we continue here on Signing Day Live on UWBadgers.com.
Well, I think so much of it is identifying who you have and what they're good at, and then maximizing those things and trying to minimize the things you're not so good at. And so very early on, it was apparent that we had really big guys up front that were very physical and strong, and I think we were coming from a system where we were slanting and moving and stemming and blitzing and everything. And the more we got into it, the more that the guys that we inherited were better at just staying put, you know what I mean, and knocking a guy back. And so that became a transition throughout the season. and we formulated everything we did to fit that personnel. And now, per your statement there, I think it flips the other way, because now we're going to be smaller, we're younger. I think the line movement, the stunning, the slanting, all those things kind of come back into play, which I'm comfortable with. That's kind of been our background, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, we have a couple of Wisconsin kids already that were, I think an Alec James and a Chikwe Obasi, who kids are going to be very excited to see and probably get some opportunity this upcoming year. But also keeping that fence around the state, hit a couple of big home runs with guys like Billy Hirschfeld. Also seeing Connor Sheehy from Milwaukee Marquette. Two big kids who, should at least have the opportunity to show you something right from the get-go.
Correct. Both those kids are big, but they're also very athletic. Billy is a great basketball player, and so he posts guys up, but he'll also work off the dribble, and it's amazing to see. And so I'm really excited about him. And both he and Connor are going to be thrown in the mix very early to be able to see what they can do, and I'm looking forward to it. The nose, Patterson, I really like his movement, his ability to play sideline to sideline. He's a guy, I think, that can two-gap as well as redirect in his slants, and so that's exactly what we're looking for.
How about in terms of those kids, if they want to get on the field early, what are some of the things, the first things that they maybe get introduced to? What is the biggest transition or the biggest hurdle that they have to get over if they want to play early?
So much of it is, I think, I'm going Division I, I'm going Big Ten, I've got to get bigger and everything else, and stronger is the key, as well as knowing what your responsibilities are. And so, let's take a Billy Hirschfeld, for example,
Sure.
is that we're recruiting Billy and everything that Billy brings, and we want Billy to be Billy. And so he's coming from a system where for 4 years he's done one thing, and this call means this, and he's comfortable, he can go out and play, and he's not thinking about it, and he's rolling. He's coming into a system now to where it's going to be like Chinese to him. Mm-hmm. What are guys saying? What does that mean? And so getting his mind right in terms of what we call our things, what our movements are, what our fronts are, so that he can just line up and play. There's about a 2-week window in fall camp where the guys are going to be, it's free reign, everyone gets reps. After, fall camp's 4 weeks. After those 2 weeks, then it's going to be a transition into LSU. And all those kids know it, and they're prepared for it, and they know that the time they put in now will maximize those 2 weeks.
Also, I think we have just one linebacker on scholarship in class. Obviously, losing a kid like a Chris Borland is a huge hit, but you have kids there. Were you looking for more linebackers? Was there something else you needed to hit in this class that maybe you didn't quite get?
I think the focus was on safeties and DB types, and even TJ, who we recruited, who I really love, is a running back or a quarterback, in high school.
Yeah.
And so you want guys that can run, that can put on weight, as opposed to, you pop on the tape and there's a ton of 240-pound big hitters, but are pure box players. And you want guys that can go sideline to sideline. You want guys that can play first down, second, and third down. And, I think recruiting a quarterback to play linebacker who's got an aggressive set is good. And then I think recruiting safeties that potentially could grow into linebackers, I think, is the other way to go about it.
Now, a lot of the times, and you can see it on film here, and we'll see a lot of the highlight plays that they make. But when you are determining something, whether or not a kid, looks to be a fit that can fit at this level, besides a relationship fit, and has he been productive in high school? What other things are you looking for that can jump out to you?
We want to see his mindset. I know in talking to the head coach and talking to the assistant coaches, does he play any other sports? Talk to those coaches. You want to see what type of competitor he is. You want to see a fight. You want to see a fire, because all those are you get that type of kid that has that ability to inspire people and motivate people. That changes your room. Say if I'm a linebacker coach and a kid like that walks in, my room has changed just like that for the positive. Yeah. And so you want guys like that are self-starters, that don't have to be told what to do, that will get your position group up and ready for a fight. And we've done a good job of that.
All right, and certainly we're talking about the back end as well. You mentioned it. It was certainly an area of focus, cornerbacks and safety in particular. Austin Hudson already on campus as an early enrollee. Got a couple of other cornerbacks. I think we got 2 cornerbacks, 3 safeties total that have come into this class. So take me through a couple of them. How do they fit? Can they get on the field? And, I mean, will you need them?
Yeah, you know, I think I'm excited about Austin and the range that he has and the ball skills that he has. He's a great receiver as well, very athletic. It's positive that he's here right now, and so he'll be given every opportunity. And I know that he's willing to go all in to earn a spot going into fall camp. So I'm excited about him. You know, the other safety spots where there's Surge or there's Lubrin, both those guys are just so athletic. I think the more you can get of the 6'1", 6'2", 200-pound guys, they can be a low safety. They can also, depending upon the rotation of a blitz or a coverage, also be a high safety. You know, you can do so much with those guys. I mean, that was our Michael Caputo and everything last year. Now we've just multiplied those amount of guys, and you'd want those guys on the field when you're facing the spread teams like an Arizona State or like an Indiana or anything like that, like an Illinois. And so those are positives. I think Tyndale and Dakota, I think I look at Tyndale as a true cover corner.
Yeah.
I think he's got length and he's got speed, great ball skills. I look at Dakota Dixon as more of a nickel back corner, which we really didn't have. You know, we had safeties playing that position last year. And I think you know, that's traditionally a corner spot. And I think with some of our recruiting, we can push that back to where it's 3 corners on the field as opposed to an abundance of safeties where you're asking a safety who's generally a deep half guy to play man-to-man on a slot. And, you know, we can change that through recruiting, and I think we have.
You know, when we were watching, you know, a lot of Badger fans seeing for the first time a 3-4 defense here and how that would affect and how would we get used to that. Another thing we saw was a lot of rotation, a lot of different players getting a chance to see the field, getting an opportunity to make a play. And it wasn't just, you know, hey, the second corner. I mean, we saw a flip of a quarterback back to safety. And how does something like that help in the recruiting process, saying, hey, we want to get you guys all on the field if you can make plays in certain situations for us?
No, I agree. I think that's always been a premise. That's always been something we wanted to do. I think last year we took that to new heights. You know, we had a quarterback playing safety. We had Nate, who's never played offense, playing safety. I mean, there was a couple things going on there that were unique. And so with that being said, though, I take a guy like Leon Jacobs, for example, where Leon fighting through reps. You know, he's confused at times. He had a good day. He's got a bad day, up and down. And you fight through that, I think, that first year. But now, just going through workouts with him and talking to him, he's so much more confident about what he has to do. He knows his jobs. He's been there. He's done that, and so he's just ready to take off. And so I think you have that with a bunch of other guys that have seen reps. I just use Leon as an example, and so you have to be able to play guys because when it comes to their turn, you want them rearing to go, and we're rearing to go. Yeah, and like you said, too, accentuating the positive. If they can run, well, we can get them out on a certain down, and they can run with somebody. If they can hit, they can tackle. So it looks to be opportunity for some of these young guys. Last thought for you, again, Badger defensive coordinator Dave Aranda. Take me into one of the households. Take me into one of the recruiting processes that got to sell or had to make it work for you. Did you hear any funny stories on the road that you can share with us here on UWBadgers.com? Not so much. It's a grind. You know, I know that we're flying around. It's always good to go with Coach Andersen because you're in the tiny plane and you get to see Coach Hammock all buckled up in the plane, and can he fit, and you know, man, can he stretch out his legs, and all those things are always good to look at. But just what I love about the recruiting are the relationships and seeing the parents. And you know, I think coaching for me, it changed when I became a parent. You know, when I had my son and my 2 girls, and that it changes the perspective I think you have as a coach. And so sitting in those homes, I think it's a special time. But also, to be honest with you, just being around our coaches when you're on the road for as long as you are, in hotels and planes and trains and automobiles and stuff. It's good to be around those guys, and you get to know them better. And it's good that it's over with, though, too. Is there one you don't want to be stuck in a car with? Yeah. We won't name names here, but we know who you are. All right. Coach Aranda, a pleasure. Best of luck this upcoming year. Thank you. Congratulations on a National Letter of Intent signing day. Thank you. All right, that's Dave Aranda. We'll have more from Camp Randall Stadium when we return here on Signing Day Live.
Welcome back into Camp Randall Stadium. Football offices here for Signing Day Live. Phil Dawson with you, and now joined by Wisconsin wide receivers coach Chris Beatty. And this is a big class for you, I suppose, the coaching of the wide receivers and getting 4 in that we can show you right now and get into those guys. But a class that certainly you probably want to see right from the get-go be able to impact the team and the game.
There's no question. We feel good about the athleticism that we were able to get, today, and I feel like that we've upgraded that position that needed some upgrading. So those guys, we anticipate them having an opportunity to go compete. We feel good about the guys we got here, but we feel, good about the guys we got coming in.
Now, of course, part of the recruiting process is in getting some of the skill position players. Wisconsin long been known for the ability to bring in big offensive linemen from the state. Have had to go out of state to get some skill position players and had to do that again. And one of the long-time pipelines up here for skill positions, Florida. So tell me about the importance of Florida. Why do we have to have that pipeline down there?
Well, there's great talent there. I mean, I think every school in the country recruits Florida. If you look at, if Alaska had a football team, they'd recruit Florida, to try to get speed, because there's so much athleticism down there, so much speed. So for us to go down there and try to capitalize on, a positive program and the movement that we've had and the success that we've had down there with Soldier and having a great year and guys like that, James White and Des Southward, we got to build on that. And so we were able to do that quite a bit with some of our skilled guys, because there's a lot of them down there.
Now, also made the jump into Georgia this year, Krenwick Sanders, a wide receiver. He'll be playing under you and building a relationship with someone like him. How important is that to get into Georgia, another place where there's a boatload of talent? And how do you make the inroads down there?
You got great people. You want to make sure that you get to know those high school coaches, make great relationships, because recruiting is relationships. That's really what it is. You got all these Twitters and all this stuff now, but it's really more about face-to-face interaction and being able to be visible, and people feel good about sending their players to you. We've had great coaches go down there and recruit those areas, and we've been able to build, some relationships down there.
So tell me a little bit about Krenwick himself. What kind of player is he? What jumped out to you? And the initial contact that you had with him, how did you know it was a fit?
He's got great ball skills. I mean, I think he's got a great strike zone. We talk about having a, catch radius, that helps the quarterback not have to be pinpoint accurate all the time. He's got a great catch radius, long arms. He's one of those guys. He's a prototype X, we feel like, and he's one of those guys we're counting on coming in and making some plays. I think Coach Hammond did a great job getting the whole thing started, and I kind of just wanted to help him. And, and I think he's a guy that we're counting a lot on.
Now, also in Florida, had the opportunity I think this week it was George Rushing making up his mind and saying, I want to come to Wisconsin, and sure enough, faxing in that letter of intent. So tell us about George, the jump down there. Here he is, another guy. And all your wide receivers over 6 foot.
Yeah, well, in our style of offense, we want a little bit bigger guy, but I think George has some juice as far as making people miss and doing some things in space. And he's one of those guys we stuck with. And it's like, it was Louisville and us, and then it was LSU and Louisville and us, and Missouri and Louisville and us, but it was always us.
Right.
And so we were kind of the consistent guy in the group, and stayed with it, and actually paid off.
We can see him running in some scores right there. Now, also, if you look at the film of all of these wide receivers, contested balls, something that a wide receiver at this level certainly has to be able to do. Is that something that you judge on film, or how can you judge that?
Watching practice. I think the biggest thing for me is being able to see those guys in May and being able to see them once during the season and being able to watch them practice, see how they work. Because the film sometimes is not always accurate. You watch a lot of that, but you don't know who they're playing against or who, sometimes you see a guy and the competition isn't quite what you expect, so he looks a little bit better than maybe he really is. So you want to make sure that you see them live and see them do all the things that does show up on film, see them do that live. And, we were fortunate enough to be able to our list pretty much stayed the same from May all the way through. We were able to get, most of the guys we thought we could get on that list.
Since we have you here, let's touch on these other 2 wide receivers. Darian Watkins, why don't you tell us a little bit about Darian?
Darian's one of the guys, I've been recruiting him since I was at Illinois. It's one of those deals. I changed shirts, got a better shirt. I don't know if that's something you should say, but that's the truth. So Yeah, and he was one of those. Yeah, again, you just stay with it. You know, he was committed to someone else. We stayed with it, and kind of persevered here at the end.
As we see him here too, I mean, this is a guy who played multiple positions. How do you, then translate him to, he's going to be a wide receiver for us?
Well, I actually watched him in camp,
Sure.
So we were able to work him out at multiple spots in camp at quarterback and receiver. But I like the multi-sport guy. You see who's players as far as, look at Jared Aberdares, who was a high school quarterback, and, Alex Harrison's done good things for us. He was a high school quarterback. I like the guys that do multiple things. I think those things translate to this level a little bit. So, you want ball players first, and then if they're really good receivers, but you want guys that are good players first.
And lastly, Natrell Jamerson, 6 foot, 175 pounds, out of Florida again. Another one that, I don't know, how many of these guys can contribute right away?
You hope all of them
All
can.
of them.
That's kind of, you don't recruit them to redshirt them.
Right.
You recruit them to play, and we're recruiting those guys to play. I think, he's got some jets, and that's something that we needed. We needed, he's running a 10.6, verified track time, and all that stuff is what it is. But hope it translates to the field. But he does have some speed, that put on another gear.
Whoa, sure does look like it. Look at him break away there. Well, Coach Beatty, wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on getting this class in. And, of course, it'll be fun to see these guys not only in the spring, but see who can get on the field in the fall.
No question. Thank you.
And again,
All right.
Badger wide receiver coach Chris Beatty will be back with more right here on Signing Day Live. Welcome back into Camp Randall Stadium. It's signing day live here at the football offices. Joined now by Wisconsin defensive line coach, Coach Chad, joining us. And, of course, we got 3 defensive linemen, 2 that stand out, obviously, from the state of Wisconsin, and Carter Sheehy and Billy Hirschfeld. These are 2 guys that I think people know about, but how did you get to know them?
I got to know them throughout the recruiting process. Coach Ben Strickland did a great job recruiting those young men, and as we went along, probably during summer camp, and even prior to that, when we first got here, and then summer camp, I got to know them and just started building a relationship with them, and it grew from there. And we went after these guys hard, and Connor was committed early, and Billy had some weighing to do, and then I don't know, I think I was out somewhere with Coach Andersen when we got the call from Billy and was ecstatic about it. And so we had to hold on tight to these 2 guys, but again, credit to Coach Strickland and doing a fine job of keeping these guys Badgers.
Let me ask you this, too, about those 2 kids, because they got good size, good speed. They seem to have whatever you want to be able to shape and mold them into, they have that ability. So when you start formulating what kind of players they're going to be, where does that start? Where does that formulation of how they're going to fit start with you?
I think, one, it's going to be it's great because, again, we get to mold them the way we want to and get them to fit in the defense that we really want to play here. We talked about some of the guys earlier before we went on air about coming in and having the guys we had, and they did a great job of fitting into Coach Aranda's defense. Again, we had to make them fit. This way, we recruit the body type, the athlete that we want. So that's a huge positive in recruiting these 2 guys.
So tell me a little bit about that change in defense and how these guys do fit. Also, Jeremy Patterson, who probably is in that nose guard mold, filling in for a Bo Allen or whoever it may be. But these are a defense that Coach Aranda told us about earlier, just having the ability to do a couple more things because of the type of athlete they are, instead of a go-ahead power, here we go kind of deal.
Yes. I think with all 3 young men, they'll fit our scheme perfectly. Super excited about Jeremy because he's a big athletic.
Here he is right here. Oh, yeah.
Look at him go. I mean, he's a big athletic kid. I got to watch him play basketball a couple times, and it was amazing watching this kid run up and down the court. So that's a huge positive. And, again, being able to – we got to improve our pass rush, obviously, and I think he'll bring something down the line. And then with Connor Sheehy, he's a tweener guy where he can play nose guard, he can play end. And that's kind of what Warren Herring is right now to us. So we're excited about that. And then Billy Hirschfeld gives us that strong, stout 4-eye type of defensive end. And then when we do some over stuff, he can be a 5 technique. So it's a good mixture for us.
Last thought about these kids, and I got a couple more questions for you. Do they have to have a certain mentality to be a defensive lineman? And when do you notice that? How does it work?
Well, I think as we go through recruiting, you can figure that out when you start talking to them and start building that relationship, and you want that confidence in them. And I think I know all of these guys coming in are a confident group of kids, and they understand that they're coming in there to compete right away and not take a backseat to anybody. Now they're going to have to learn off of the older guys, but they have some swagger to them where they're ready to compete. And we need that. We need that out of them. Now, out of the 3 guys, I couldn't tell you who's going to play right away, but, I hope they're busting their butts every day to get to that level and get on the field on Saturdays.
And I think these kids do have that mentality that they will come in and work and try to do that and prove that to you.
All 3 of them.
Again, Coach Chad, defensive line coach for the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, also, the West Coast, an area that you do some of the recruiting at. Tell us a little bit about that, because here, again, at Wisconsin, had some different ties to other areas, and now opening the West Coast, I suppose it just goes right back to your background and the relationships you've previously developed at other stops.
It helps. It helped a lot. Me moving to the Midwest, I thought it was going to be difficult, but with all the ties I have in California, in Hawaii, Salt Lake City, Washington, the state of Washington, Oregon, it helped us out big time now. I didn't get the results I wanted, but I think, just bringing in the kids that we brought in this past season during recruiting, I think it was a huge positive for us. I don't think Coach Andersen shied away from bringing in these kids because it was so far away and because it can get cold here. We didn't shy away from that. And also, we swung at some kids that we normally don't swing at. Well, at least from what I know, that we didn't swing at. I mean, we brought some 4 or 5-star athletes in from the West Coast that normally
Maybe never even been here or know about it, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. But the more I think our presence is out in the West Coast, the more we can educate some of these players. Obviously, there was a running back, an O-lineman that know about the traditions. Their coaches has educated them about Wisconsin. But there's those tweeners, those linebackers, corners, safeties that don't know much. But I think with Coach Andersen putting me there, making our presence felt, especially with some of the bigger high schools in those states, I think it's going to help us out a lot. And so, we'll see. Again, I didn't get the results I wanted to, as I didn't get as much kids as I wanted to, but the amount of kids I brought up, and getting a couple from back west helped us out.
Now, also something introduced here as well. I think I have it right here on my sheet. What is the poly pipeline?
Well, the Polynesian pipeline. I mean, it's getting the Polynesians in your program.
What makes them unique? Why are they something that you? I mean, not only can you build a relationship with, but they fit a program like Wisconsin.
The uniqueness about people in my culture, and I hope nobody gets offended by this because maybe they might feel that way about theirs, but I think our kids bring a sense of a family being. Where you can talk about it, but for some reason, I mean, that's why these schools in Utah kind of surrounded themselves with it. That's why these schools on the West Coast is doing it, because they bring this sense of family and they mean it, and also respect, and they demand respect from other. Well, they respect your authorities, your elders, and that kind of just brings everybody together, and that's kind of what we're known for, and we bring groups together. And again, I remember talking to a coach from Oregon State, and we questioned on like, wow, why are you taking this kid? I said, well, you can't have enough of them, because that's what they bring. He might not be the best football player, but I look at his leadership. I know the way he can gather a group, and I want him on my team. So I was like, okay, good for you. But I mean,
they could get pretty
that's
big
what we're doing. And we got two. Yeah. We got the best Polynesian, Micah Kapoi. He's a Hawaiian Samoan kid from Kapolei High School in Hawaii, and to me, he's the best prospect coming out of Hawaii this year. Mm-hmm. Best O-line prospect by far, and that's what we're known for. And then in the state of Utah, we got Ula Tolutau, who's the best running back, and to me, he is the best prospect coming out of the state of Utah. I mean, he was Mr. Everything there. So, I think that's a good start for us. Now, Ula is probably going to go on a church mission. So, if that happens, that happens. If not, Coach Andersen would love to take him this year. So, and he's a big bruising back, which fits our type, and he's got speed, and guys will see him on his highlights.
Well, certainly something that we look forward to seeing, that poly pipeline continue to build. Coach Chad, congratulations on getting things done this year, and again, we'll see you in the spring, all right?
Thanks for having me.
There he is, Coach Chad, defensive line coach for the University of Wisconsin. We'll come back and we'll continue on here on Signing Day Live. Welcome back into Signing Day Live from Camp Randall Stadium, the football offices. Now joined by Ben Strickland, the Wisconsin quarterbacks coach, joining me, Phil Dawson. And, you know, Ben, also you are the coordinator for the in-state recruiting, and the state of Wisconsin, definitely the background helps, being here helps, all of that stuff. And it was part of the role into the transition and really introducing the state of Wisconsin, the coaches, and some of these players to Coach Gary Andersen. Before we jump into the recruits that we're going to see here in a little bit, what was that process just like for you personally?
Well, I think obviously initially whenever there's change, there's a lot of questions, and people kind of wonder, you know, who's this guy coming in? And, you know, I think everybody's kind of, the response has been great as far as Gary around the state with the high school coaches and with the kids and the families. And, you know, I think that's just a testament to, you know, the type of man he is as far as the leader of this program. And, you know, a lot of the coaches and young men that we recruited took to him pretty quickly because of that. And, you know, it's been, he's made, you know, my job easier because you know what he expects. He's very direct about his expectations, as well as, you know, the type of young man he's looking for and we're looking for as a program. And, you know, you just try to find kids that fit that.
How about in terms of the relationships built within the state of Wisconsin with some of these kids, these athletes? How do you find them? How do you talk to coaches? Or how does it work? How does a kid who's playing in, you know, wherever, maybe up in Seymour or Green Bay, how do they find out about and want to be Badgers and get to you?
Well, I think the first step for us especially is the best evaluation tool we have is our camps. And so a lot of these guys, you know, as freshmen and sophomores kind of come in and they come to camp and you see what the potential they have. You know, and then also you just talk to the coaches around the state and get their opinion of guys within their conference, you know, their own guys obviously that they feel like can play at the next level. And there's a lot of coaches in the state that, you know, have a good gauge for that. And so you just kind of lean on that. You lean on your own evaluation and trying to get around them as much as possible. And being able to see them in person is the biggest thing. And, you know, if you look back at all the signing classes, you know, a while back, you probably see, you know, 90% of those guys in state were guys that came to camp. So that's kind of the first thing that I try to emphasize as far as in-state recruiting, you know, whether it's scholarship or walk-on guys, you know, is being able to get our eyes on them and kind of go from there. And obviously we want to keep the best talent in state, and it starts there. You know, but it's also gotten harder in state recruiting just because of the number of schools that are coming in. And I think that's not just the success of our program and our walk-ons, but also the programs at the different levels that, you know, that we're close to.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You know, whether it's the Division III level with UW Whitewater and the WEAC schools, or Division II with you know, Minnesota Duluth, Division I AA with North Dakota State. You know, there's a lot of you know, national exposure for those kids and a lot of Wisconsin kids on those teams. So I think the state's being more recruited, and obviously, you know, the accessibility to film has also helped that. But it's always, you know, going to come down to being able to see these young men in person and to kind of go from there and get to know them. And, you know, the Wisconsin kids that, you know, end up here, obviously it's a big deal because they're living out their dream. And, you know, for me, it's kind of continuing to hold on to that. Because of all these schools coming in and recruiting Wisconsin now, you want to continue to have guys that want to go to Wisconsin first and really live out their dream of being a Badger.
Well, I think that's a great point, too, about all the other levels of success that teams with Wisconsin players are having, and the potential misconception out there that Wisconsin only produces big old linemen. Now, they do. We do, but there's also, I mean, just look at this class alone. There's a lot of big kids that aren't just on the O-line. They're running, they're tackling, they're hitting. And even going back to last year's class, some of the big kids that you saw with a Chikwe or an Alec James, I mean, these are big, physical, complete athletes.
Yeah, I think, you know, you've also seen kids get better and better athletically just because the game's changed and guys need to be able to move in space. And so they're given that opportunity and develop that earlier on than they had in the past. And I think that, you know, you kind of see that. You know, but you look at guys just that have gone through the program. Obviously, Abby is the most recent of the guys. It's a Wisconsin guy, skill guy, and he was one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. And then you look back to guys like Lance Kendricks, Travis Beckham, and guys like that. And, you know, I think, you know, you see guys at different positions. So, you know, I think there's just, you know, good football players in the state. A lot of the Wisconsin kids are multi-sport kids where, you know, they might be later developing. So sometimes there is that misconception of where they're at as opposed to where they're going.
Oh, sure.
And so, that's also where you want to look into seeing the type of tools they have and the potential, and kind of go from there.
All right, now let's talk about the guys that you'll be seeing on a daily basis. Tell me a little bit about Dakota Dixon, Derek Tyndall. Got some video we can show of these two kids, and of course, the defensive backs. I mean, that's something that needed to be upgraded, and I think these two guys have pretty high expectations, and you probably have high expectations on them to be able to contribute some way, somehow next year.
Yeah, and I think, both those kids, you look at them, and they're fiery competitors. They're guys that not only they've battled through things on the football field, but in their personal lives, and just tremendous young men that have that that good confidence to them, but also aren't afraid to work hard. And obviously they're talented kids, that we feel like are going to help continue to develop the competition within our position groups, especially in the back end, and we're going to need that. So in order for us to move forward, but two great kids. The people that have influenced their lives obviously have had a tremendous impact on them, and both guys that are versatile. You see, them playing, returner, offense, defense, anything to help their teams win, and both just have great personalities. So I'm looking forward to not just coaching them, but being able to be involved in their lives academically and socially, and help them develop in their next 4 to 5 years here.
Take me through this right now. It's probably a big stick, as you can see. That has to feel good. But in terms of what you're looking for when you see on tape what a kid can do, because they usually are potentially athletically more gifted than some of the other players, but what can jump out to you when you're watching a corner or a safety that says, oh, that's kind of what we're looking for, if we can just kind of pick that off of the film?
Well, I think that, you obviously can't substitute speed, and so that's something you obviously look for in the film is their ability to be able to run.
Yeah.
You got to be able to change direction at the defensive back spot, so seeing their feet, their hips, how mobile they are. And, obviously we like guys that play both sides of the ball just because then they also have the ball skills and playmaking ability to go along with it. So, all those guys are guys that, again, they're going to be put in the fold and they're going to be tested early, and they know those opportunities are going to come. And we're excited to get them into the fold and get rolling. And, I guess I'd say the last thing, is obviously Wisconsin's been a program that's built on toughness. Mm-hmm. So you want to see young men that, are willing to tackle and put their face in there too. So
saw that a couple times.
Right, both those guys do that pretty well. So we're excited about their future and excited to be able to help them develop.
Well, Ben, congratulations on another National Signing Day. Look forward to seeing those kids certainly in the spring and then in the fall, and we'll see you then, too.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. That's Ben Strickland. That's going to be our signing day live here from Camp Randall. For more, you can see all the video that we showed, even more extensive video of that. Just check out uwbadgers.com. Gary Andersen will be speaking live, and we will carry that for you as well. 2 o'clock right here at uwbadgers.com. And tonight, have a special signing day edition of Varsity Magazine being emailed out. So if you're not on that, again, just stick right here to uwbadgers.com. I'm Phil Dawson. I want to say thanks to everybody helping out today, and we'll see you next time right here on Signing Day Live.